My name's George. I've been at Halcyon Knights now for coming up to 5.5 years. I'm the lead consultant here over at ANZ, specialising specifically in cybersecurity. Over recent times, probably the last 18 months or so, there's been a little bit of a switch. Still mainly focusing on cyber, but I'm also across what we call emerging technologies, so think artificial intelligence, machine learning, data virtualization, that sort of piece, and that's me. I think it's clear for everyone that cybersecurity is a massive need for pretty much every organisation. It's something that's going to be standing the test of time. I think the reason for that is because the solution portfolio itself is what you would class as mission critical, as opposed to what you would say for a lot of softwares is like a nice to have. Now, we've seen things in recent times like the Optus hack and the Medibank hack. And these events, albeit unfortunate, but they keep cybersecurity so front of mind for these organisations. And because of these events, it means that it's left all of these companies little to pretty much no choice but to invest in further capabilities and at times upgrade their legacy solutions. I think probably the biggest pain point that clients have been raising with me as of late is that it's getting more and more difficult for talent teams to find the right level of candidacy for each role, because they're relying on either direct referrals or possibly even just direct applicants from the job application online, which is resulting for a huge amount of applicants, which is extremely timely, and ultimately time, as we all know, is money. Now, it's a very, very saturated market at the minute, so we're seeing possibly 1, 2, maybe even 300 applicants per job ad in the GTM space. Now, I think one of our many benefits, but one that springs to mind the most, is that we cut through the noise. So we're able to provide a shortlist of maybe 3 to 5 in a 2 to 3 day timeline, all that meet the criteria and go straight into the process. So I guess an example of where this has worked, a few weeks ago a cybersecurity client reached out to me because, again, same story, they weren't getting the right level of candidacy for the role because they were having to rely on direct referrals or just the direct applicants to the ad. They reached out to me because their main problem was speed to hire. So I got briefed on the role, worked it for 2 days, introduced 4 options, and then the role was closed 2 weeks later. I think one of the most obvious reasons here would be economic downturn. Literally everybody's seeing it, right? So this has contributed towards the market conditions in a couple of different ways. So we're seeing a lot of companies that try to enter the APAC region have to exit completely, and we're also seeing businesses that had large existing teams cut down. So we're seeing cuts of 30, 40, maybe even 50% of the sales team, all the organisation as a whole. Now, all these have huge impacts on the market, and in this particular case that we're talking about, it means that people that got cut are on the market. So candidates a couple of years ago were putting a huge premium on stock options on top of the OTE, so much so at one point that the people that we were getting to the final round, it was almost a stock first approach before even looking at the OTE. Now, with what I referenced before, with all these APAC companies having to possibly even pull out of region, a lot of them were startups naturally. And with startups, as we know, comes huge injections of stock units. And the company, once it's gone or out of region, so are the stock options. So things have changed now, and candidates are now placing a much larger premium on working for leaders that I guess have been able to crisis control almost. And they're also looking at achievable OTEs, and a massive thing now is culture. One that springs to mind immediately is for candidates that are lucky enough to get chosen to the final 1, maybe 2, and they've got to that stage that we like to call sort of dotting the I's, crossing the T's. A lot of candidates are falling short here because they're assuming that that means that it's done. Please don't do that. Time and time again, we're seeing candidates fall over at the very final round because they just think it's a super casual chat. A lot of the time, that's not the case at all, and it's actually a bit of a test. So please wait for paperwork. The last chat is important, and almost more important than the first.